We start off at school and we're introduced to the protagonist named Manase and his friend Amari. Amari invites Manase to lunch, but as she can see, he starts eating his lunch early because he didn't want to wait for the bell to ring. Amari throws a hissy fit and slaps his arm, making him knock a mysterious item on the floor. Manase picks up the item and Amari asks if that was the lunch he brought to school. He said no and starts walking out the classroom without telling her where he was going. Manase is outside waiting for a girl named Rika to show up so that he can ask about the letter she wrote him. Rika is horny as hell and tells Manase if he can clap her cheeks, so he takes her somewhere private to spend some quality time together. Manase has a flashback to the time when he was in class helping a girl named Mirai get the guy she liked by giving her a charm that makes people fall in love with the person they see. This shit backfired because instead of falling in love with her, he just fucks her. Manase and Amari are at the art room and he is in the middle of drawing her. She becomes impatient and looks at the drawing anyways and gets mad because he drew her underwear without her knowing. Suddenly, their teacher, Takashiro, shows up saying that they make a cute couple. Moving on, Manase and Amari are coming out of school when they see their classmate Kaori at the school gate saying she wanted to talk to Manase about something. Manase agrees to talk to her, leaving Amari behind. While they were walking home, Kaori tells Manase that he used magic to make Rika fall in love with him and that she wouldn't fall in love with him in real life. Kaori invites him to her house. She then talks to him about the night of Walpurgis that happened 12 years ago, which made Manase have another flashback to the time when he found a magical book inside of a wall. Manase begins to leave her room, and just as he was about to leave, she begins seducing him, making him spill the information about the book he found. Manase bitch slaps her to the floor, saying that he was gonna show her the book but not give it to her. Kaori tells him that he's possessed by a demon and his actions will have consequences if he keeps doing what he does. Manase comes home and sees that his sister is not there. Amari looks out of her window like a fucking stalker and suddenly gets a call from Yukiko asking her to make Manase something to eat because she will be coming home late. Manase hears the doorbell and sees that it's none other than Rika. Rika wants Manase to clap her cheeks again, and Manase takes her to his room so he can get into them walls. Amari comes home from the store and says she was gonna make curry. She makes the curry and takes it up to Manase's room. She opens the door and sees Manase and Rika in bed. I mean, what did you expect? She went to his house, made him curry, and walked to him fucking a bitch. Moving on to the next morning. Manase and Rika are on the roof. Manase tells Rika that her feelings for him ain't real and that he made her feel this way. Rika was so sad that she jumps off the roof and commits suicide. Shit, man, that's tough. Luckily, she survives with zero harm. The nurse says that she just fainted and Manase used his magic to save her. Manase is in his classroom looking at the magical book when Kaori shows up. Kaori mentions that she started a magical club and wanted Manase to come over and see it. Manase declines and walks off. Manase enters the place where he found the magical book. Katami appears, telling him she knows about the Walpurgis incident that happened 12 years ago and the magical book Manase has, saying that it was written by the devil. Katami offers Manase to join forces with her in exchange for godlike power. Manase accepts her offer, like a fucking idiot. Katami gives him some of her magic, via sex. Manase comes home from school and sees his sister wearing nothing but short shorts and a tank top. He touches her titty, making her overreact and walk off to her room. What the fuck am I doing? Manase gets a call from Kaori asking if he was coming over to the magic club. Manase accepts her offer. Little does she know, Manase tells Katami about it. Kaori hears the doorbell ring and sees that it's Manase along with Katami. Katami pushes Kaori out of the way, letting herself inside, alerting the rest of the club members that were in the room. The club members attempts to fend off Katami, but it didn't work. Kaori attempts to fend off Katami, but again, didn't work. Katami puts all three of them under a spell that arouses them, and the only way for the spell to wear off is by sex. No shit. Moving on to the next day, Manase is at the art room staring at the sketch he drew of Amari. Takashiro enters the room wondering about Amari. Kaori shows up from behind and tases her, knocking her unconscious. Takashiro is taken to the place where the magic club was, where she was being tortured. Katami then tells her that she is the sole survivor of the incident that happened 12 years ago because she didn't know who she truly was, and that she made a contract with the devil in exchange for immortality. Moving on the next morning, Manase wakes up and finds Rika sucking him off. Wow, that's a good way to wake up. Amari knocks on Manase's door and sees him and Rika about to leave. Bitch, what you want? Amari confronts Manase, telling him that he's been acting weird for the past few days. Manase then tells her to not go to the art club after school. She goes anyway and sees a full-on gangbang in the classroom while Manase, Katami, and Kaori were watching from a side. Amari begs him to stop, but then Manase did this spell-like thing to put Amari to sleep. Manase helps Kaori kidnap Amari. Moving on, Katami got Amari in chains on top of a table, saying something about a ritual. Amari wakes up and finds herself in chains and fully naked. Manase asks Katami about the ritual she mentioned, which made her grow suspicious of Manase.
ここに来るのがずいぶん遅かったけど、私の車に伊万里さんを運んでからどこへ行ってたの?
It ends up holding him captive. Meanwhile, Takashiro wakes up and finds herself in Manase's room. Looking at her surroundings, she finds a book on Manase's desk, turning out to be the magical book he found. Katami gives Amari a chastity belt to prevent her from losing her virginity and jacking off. In addition, she gives Amari pills to make her aroused and forces Manase to anally fuck her against her will. But that's okay because she eventually likes it. Afterwards, Katami tells Manase to go home and leave Amari for her ritual, but he refuses and attempts to attack Katami head on. But he got his ass whooped in the end, and Katami threatened to kill him if he gets involved with her plan, and afterwards kicks him out of the club. Manase comes home feeling guilty about what he did and sees Takashiro awake. Takashiro talks to Manase about the book he found and that it shouldn't be used, and eventually telling him that Katami was a sacrifice to the incident that happened 12 years ago, and that she sold her soul to the devil in exchange for mortality, and that she is planning a ritual to outsmart the devil. Moments after Takashiro tells him this, she is a bit shocked about the gangbang she partaken in, and the drugs were still in her system, so she asks Manase to clap her cheeks. You believe this shit? Moving on, Katami takes Amari to the school where she would begin the ritual to possess her body. Manase runs back to the place where Kaori had the magic club and sees no one there. When he turned around to leave, Rika stabs him in the gut. How the fuck did she know where he was? And begins to have her way with him while he was bleeding to death. Is this bitch serious? When Rika was about to stab Manase again, Takashiro swoops in and saves him, healing his injury. Manase and Takashiro returns to his room to having no clue where Amari might be. Takashiro says that Katami took her to the school's basement preparing for the ritual. Manase attempts to leave, but when Takashiro, being the voice of reason, says it was too dangerous, she then suggests that they use a spell that is strong enough to stop Katami. So they looked into the magical book for the spell they need, but the page they were looking for was covered in blood, so they had to decipher it in just enough time to head for the school. When they showed up to the school, the doors and windows were locked by a barrier to prevent them from getting in, so Takashiro used a spell to break the window. While they was headed to the basement, Kaori and her friends from the magic club showed up to stop them from interfering with the ritual. Takashiro and Kaori were having a magic showdown, ending with Kaori and her friends getting folded. While Katami was starting the ritual to possess a body, a hooded figure showed up behind her, turning out to be Manase. Then Manase used a powerful spell that he learned to stop Katami from possessing Amari and ending the ritual. Oh, and Katami dies. Yo, Mo, take it from here.
Rest in peace.
The next day, things were going back to normal. No paranormal activity, Rika ain't in love with Manase, and Manase and Amari are friends again. Moving on, Manase took Amari to his room so that he can finally get into them cheeks of hers. While they were cuddling in bed, Manase tells Amari that he put the book where he found it and that he swore to never use magic again. Moving on, Kaori was at the school's basement and finds the magic book that Manase hid inside the walls. How the fuck did she know where it was? Amari shows up staring at her menacingly and burns the book, turning out to be Katami, who survived the ritual, and to make matters worse, she ends up having her way with her to test her new body she possessed. And that's all, folks.